Greetings and welcome to What's New with Human Design, in which we follow the journey of the sun and the earth around the human design mandala. I'm Maggie Ostara, and it is time for another episode of What's New with Human Design. I do these every Wednesday at 12 noon on Instagram and on Facebook, so I invite you to join me live if you like to. Okay, so this week we have, I haven't seen this happen yet this year, so we have a reflector energy chart. I will be posting the chart itself, so look for the chart in a separate post. But basically it's a reflector energy, which means that none of the channels and none of the centers are defined. So when you take a look at it, you glance at it, it looks like a really, really open chart, and it is. So the gates become even more important in a reflector chart because they're really the key themes that are happening. So we're going to dive into the gates that are defined this coming week. This change is going to be coming up tomorrow on May 27th, and it will go through, let me just double check the date it goes through. It's going to go through, I think it's June 2nd. Yeah, we change on June 2nd. Okay, so what I'm going to be talking about today is going to be good for the rest of this week and through June 2nd, which I think is Wednesday, when we'll have another What's New with Human Design. So reflector energy, reflectors, people who have this as their type, okay, are only about 1% of the population, so they're relatively rare. But even so, 1% of the population is still a lot of people. Okay, and reflectors, a lot of times when people look at this, they think, oh no, I don't have anything. But that's not actually true. They have obviously the gates that are defined. Everybody has defined gates. You can't not have defined gates. And like I was just saying, the themes become even more important. And a lot of times the gates are being lit up by more than one energy, by more than one planet. And that is what's happening today as well, and this upcoming week as well, because with the sun and the earth are going to catch up with where the south node and the north node have been for the last month. And so then we're going to have extra energy coming through those gates, and I'll get to that in a moment. But just to say a little bit more about reflector energy, which is that it means that you're extremely sensitive and tuned in, and it can be really a superpower. Like, I've met reflectors who were very empowered beings, and they are the kind of person that when they walk into a room, they're going to pick up energy from everybody in the room, and they're going to amplify it. So it can be really, really strong for them, even more than for people who have a lot of definition. So it's kind of interesting. We tend to think of people who have more definition maybe as being more powerful because they do have this ongoing, ready, reliable access to the places that are defined, the centers that are defined, and the channels that are defined. And that is true. But for a reflector in a short period of time, or a projector that only has 2 gates defined, or anybody who really only has not 2 gates, 2 centers defined, really anybody who only has 2 centers defined, they have 7 that are open. Like for me, I have 4 centers defined and 5 that are open. So I pick up a lot of energy and amplify it depending on whom I'm around. So imagine that with reflectors, like kind of times 10 or times 100, right? And so for us this week, it means that we're going to be very sensitive to energies that we're picking up from other people and reflecting it. And we don't have a lot of definition that is coming to us from where the sun and the earth are. But it could be coming in a place in your chart that's particularly important. And for me, that's the case this week. So I'll dive into that more in just a second. Okay, so let me just see if there's anything else I wanted to say about that. do it? No. So tomorrow the sun is going to move into the gate 16, which in traditional human design is known as the gate of skills, and in quantum human design is known as the gate of zest. I just love that, zest. Isn't that just the best word and the best idea, zest? I'm not sure why it would be called the gate of skills in traditional human design. This is the ready, fire, aim energy, right? It's the just do it energy. That's like, it's called enthusiasm in the I Ching. It's like, let's go for it now. This energy doesn't think a lot. Okay, it tends to just be wanting to go for it. When it's paired with its mate, which is the 48, which is the gate of wisdom, then it can slow down a little and take a look at the bigger picture and not necessarily be to allow its enthusiasm to run over it so that it's not delegating or directing its energy in the right place. I have the 48 defined in my chart. It's on the spleen, and when it's paired with the 16, which it will be for me this week, that's known as the channel of talent, okay? Because you take all this wisdom of the 48 and you pair it with this zest, right? This joie de vivre, this let's go for it energy, and they really balance each other out, because the wisdom can be a little held back. It can be a little like, well, I need to make sure that I know enough, because the 48 is on the spleen, so it has some fear energy to it. And so the 16 kind of gets it going, says, oh, come on, don't be too worried about not knowing enough. Let's get going. And then the wisdom of the 48 says, okay, let's just slow down a little bit and make sure we're directing our energy in the right way. So for me, what's going to happen, and if you have the 48 defined in your chart, what's going to happen is that your throat's going to get defined. For me, I have an open throat. Your throat's going to get defined by the 16. But it's still projected energy because it's not coming from a motor. So it still needs to be called out. It still needs to be invited. It still needs to be recognized in order for it to be powerful. But even so, it brings definition. And so it brings a greater ability to be able to express and to be able to initiate to some degree, as long as it's recognized. Because when energy gets to the throat, that's what's happened. So that's what's going to happen for me this week. Now, I mentioned this to you as an example where you can take a look at your chart and take a look at the chart that, like I said, I will be posting separately from these lives, to see, well, where do any of the hanging gates that are happening in the chart this week, where do they match up for you to help you to define something that isn't ordinarily defined? It's called an electromagnetic. So for me, the 16 is an electromagnetic to my 48. And my 48 is always looking for the 16 because it gives me access to my throat in a way that's different than I do otherwise. So you can look for that in your chart for any of the different hanging gates that are the main qualities of what's happening during this week. Because like I said, we have a reflector. Chart this week. Now, if you are interested in knowing more about the throat, I do invite you to go check out my Quantum Alignment Show, which is available on Facebook, on Karen Curry Parker's page. It did it on May 14th. It's also available on Instagram, and it's on YouTube. It's on my YouTube channel. It's on hers as well, because I go into some detail about the difference between a motorized throat, a defined throat, and an open throat, and what the superpowers of each of them are, and then what the challenges are. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, dive into a little more, then go ahead and check that out. So the 16 really inspires us to to get going, right? To move through fears that we have, to be able to grab a hold of the zest for life and to harness it, right? I've been talking a lot about how do we work with the power of the energies that are in the chart, because as I talk about superpowers, all of the energies become superpowers when we know how to grab a hold of them, harness them, and then direct them where we will. And the 16 is a great example of this. If you you don't know how to grab a hold of it, harness it, and direct it where you will, you can act in really foolhardy ways. You can just, barrel along towards something that grabs your interest, and then later on be like, why did I do that? That wasn't really the right direction for me at all. So just have this as a mantra for you, particularly for energies like the 16, because there's other energies like the 48 that tends to hold itself back, and so that one needs the 16. But then there's these other ones that tend to want to go 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 go, and those are the ones that you really need to harness. Now, the energy of the 48 you also need to harness and direct, but it's not going to be, you might need to actually kind of pull it forward a little bit more. That makes sense. Making a decision to move through any fear you have about not knowing enough. That's true for all of the gates on the spleen. They're all fear gates. They all will be affecting you in different ways. It's a great project for you to see if you have any of those gates defined in your chart, if you're identifying with any of those fears. Okay, we're not going into spleen right now. I do have videos about all of those on my YouTube channel, though. I did a bunch of them last year in my my Facebook Lives about resiliency, because I really wanted to help us when the pandemic was unfolding, to help us be able to move through fear. So if you want to know more about that, go to my YouTube channel, just search for my name and you can find those. Okay, so moving on. So now this week, the Earth is going to be moving into the gate 9. This is as of tomorrow, because the Sun and the Earth move together. Okay, and that is the gate of focus in traditional human design, and the gate of narrowing in quantum human design. And the North Node is also lighting up this energy since the middle of April. So it's interesting. We have the South Node and the North Node now being lit up. Or they're lighting up the respective gates, the 16 and the 9, and now the Earth and the Sun have caught up with them and are also lighting them up, so that we've got extra energy lighting those up. Now the South Node is, I don't think I mentioned that already. No, so the South Node is lighting up the 16, and it's associated with the past, or with karma, or with what you brought in with you. What are the themes for the first half of your life? And it's also what you're moving away from, depending on, particularly as you move through your life cycle. And it can feel kind of adolescent, right? The 16 can feel kind of adolescent, if you think about it, right? It's that kind of enthusiasm, just go for it, when it's not tempered with the 48. So it may be the energy that you're moving away from, this the less mature expression of the 16 towards a more grounded sense of the 16. Now, with the Earth in the gate 9 and also the North Node in the gate 9, you're going to be getting the support of focusing your energy. Okay, and this will really help you to bring in and focus in from all of the different possibilities that are available, and helping you to discern what's really important, because you can focus and narrow in and not necessarily be looking in the right place. So this is where you want to be drawing on your authority to be helping you know, okay, am I picking the right focus? Am I getting, if you're a generator, a manifesting generator, and am I getting it in moving in that direction? If you're a projector, when I talk it through, for myself, is that really the right way to go? So you want to make sure that you're still using your authority as you do this. But both the 16 and the 9 are in the logic circuit. So these energies are more linear, logical, analytical, rational than a lot of the energies we've been exploring over the last few weeks. You've been hearing me talk for weeks about how we've been getting access to the knowing circuit. We do have an important gate defined in the knowing circuit, which I'm going to talk about at the end today. Sorry, I just got something. Okay. I will come to that, but for focusing on the Sun and the Earth, the 16 and the 9, those are both in the logic circuit. So this is also known as the pattern circuit in quantum human design. So what they can do is help you to kind of tune in to the bigger picture, because the logic circuit is part of collective circuitry. So it's a bigger picture energy. And the highest expression of the 9 allows you both to focus in and not lose the broader perspective, so that you can have both. And we're really at our best when we can toggle between this kind of more narrow focus and our broader perspective, and we can go back and forth between them, because we need both, right? Like the more narrow focus, and this is what logic gives us. It's really what the energy of logic is. It's about being able to focus in on something and analyze something. And that's super beneficial. But if that's all we do, we get myopic, right? We can go down rabbit holes. We can lose, a sense of what else is happening, or how this is relevant to more people, or what's happening on a bigger scale, right? So we want to be able to toggle back to that as well and see the bigger patterns of what's happening. And so the 9 can help you do that when you're asking it to give you that ability to toggle back and forth. This is one of the characteristics of the logic circuit, is being able to do that, because we can have this narrow zooming in on something, but in order to see patterns, we need a bigger perspective. Okay. The 9 is on the sacral center, so it's generated energy. So it works best in response, in responding to things. It's not an initiatory energy, it's a generated energy, but it does have power in it. It does, right? Because the sacral is pure life force energy. Now the North Node is more about the future, and the North Node is also lighting up the 9. And so it's about the future, or the energy that we're moving toward, especially in the second half of life. It's about the positive karma that we're creating. It's about what's pulling us forward. So it can help you with being forward thinking in a positive way, and not future tripping. Okay, so if we have both the Earth and the North Node lighting up this energy, it can really ground us right now in our ability to move back and forth between a more narrow focus and a broader perspective, really taking the collective into account, and helping us to temper that energy of the gate 16, which can be a little scattered and foolhardy, right? So you want to be able to lean into your ability to discern priorities. And like I said, use your authority according to human design to make decisions about what to prioritize, and really what you have energy for. Because the baseline really for all of us is, what do we have energy for? And when you're focusing in, you want to make sure you have energy for something, because the best project, the best ideas, the best plan is only going to work if you have energy for it. And this is one of the places we fall down so much, if we use our minds too much. So you need to watch out for this a little bit, because with logic, we can get stuck in the mind. So we still want to be able to make sure we use our authority to find out, do I have energy for this? This is really, really vital for projectors and reflectors, and somewhat for manifestors, because you don't have that sacral energy. Because those of us with sacral energy, we can kind of just have energy. We do burn out eventually, but we can kind of go for it for a while. But if you don't have a defined sacral, you need to be super tuned into what you have energy for. But what I found as a generator, a pure generator, is when I am making sure that I focus on what I have energy for, it's also a signal that I'm in alignment with the flow of life. And what I've discovered is that when I'm in alignment with the flow of life brings me so much energy that I don't have to use so much of my own energy. And that is powerful. So just take that in for a minute, that one of the big benefits for you of tuning in to this, to what's true for you in terms of what you have energy for, is that you're going to have the support of the cosmic field as it's moving through, the energy of the cosmic plan, if you will. And you don't have to know what it is. You just use your authority to discern it. Okay, so this was a huge lesson for me, and I like to emphasize it over and over again, because I think that we have this tendency again to just really make decisions with our minds, and our minds cannot tell us if we have energy for something, because they're not connected to power. And that is what we can do when we use our authority. Okay, so worthy of mention is that Venus and Mercury are both lighting up the gate 12. And the gate 12 is on the throat. It's on an open throat this week. It's also, I have it on my open throat, and it's known as the gate of caution in traditional human design, I think because it's so powerful, and then the gate of the channel in quantum human design. So especially when it's on an open throat, and I don't know if you have a defined throat or an open throat, but what it is it's like it's kind of like a lightning rod for super consciousness. You can think of it as a way to connect with non-physical beings, and it's often called the channel, right? Which is about bringing through guidance from non-physical beings. You can think of it as just coming from super consciousness, from God, or from the all that is. You may have non-physical beings. I call them my upstairs team that I work with on a regular basis, like the angel Gabriel and Medicine Buddha and Green Tara. I mean, I have ones that I work with, and I receive their blessings and their guidance and their direction. And my defined gate 12 helps me to do that. So you can have access to that during this week also, because it's being defined by Venus and by Mercury. Now, Mercury is all about communication, right? So that's pretty interesting, is if the god of communication is lighting up the gate of the channel, right? It means there's even extra there. Now, I think Mercury is going retrograde. I'm not exactly sure when, but it's going retrograde soon. But even so, it's still about communication. And then Venus is your womanly energy. It's feminine energy. It's energy that is also about value. It's about beauty. It's about money, actually, prosperity, I would say, in a bigger way. So you can think of that as well. It's like, how do I open to receive more guidance from non-physical about my communication, about my beauty? And I don't mean beauty just like your physical, but just like your radiance, right? Venus is all about radiance as well. And it's about your about your prosperity, and about your femininity. And this is true for whatever kind of body you're in, is we all have feminine energy that we can access. So this is what's getting lit up, that they're lighting this up in the gate 12. So I would support you to just open to how you can receive more guidance from non-physical that can come through your ability to channel that. And that might be something that you speak. It might be something that you write. It might just be a conversation that you have in your head. Any of those work, okay? All right, so yeah, that is what I wanted to share with you regarding what's up with human design, what's happening with human design this week. I also want to just let you know that registration is now open for Activate Your Superpowers. This is my course I open just like once or twice a year, which is all about how do you really grab a hold of your energies and learn how to harness and direct them so that they become superpowers, just like I was talking about the 16. And everybody has these, and everybody can benefit from discovering how to do that. I was describing in my inner guidance webinar that I did yesterday, and I'll be posting it both in Facebook and Instagram today, and on YouTube, about that Activate Your Superpowers is like a treasure hunt. Because just knowing what your definition is isn't enough for you to understand how to make it into superpowers. Just knowing what your openness is isn't enough to know how to turn it into superpowers. And so what I do in this course is I work with you. I have 5 different coaching sessions that I do with participants to help you to be able to understand how you can grab a hold of these energies and how they can be real gems for you in your life. And your human design on its own won't show you that, because your life experience is a vital component to understanding your superpowers. So that's what the course is really all about. It's not just information. You do get information about all of the aspects of the human design system, but it's mostly about your ability to actually activate the superpowers that you have available to you through identifying them, but then removing the blocks, identifying and removing the blocks, receiving validation for what you already know is true about you, for what you already know are inherent intelligences that you have, but then also to bring forward things that maybe you haven't been as aware of, and then to apply them and integrate them into your life and make adjustments as you do that. Because the thing is just information on its own is not going to transform your life. And the Activate Your Superpowers class is a deeply transformational program. So if you're interested in that, I will put the URL in a comment. I believe there's a link to it in my bio. I'll put one in if it isn't there right now. It's open for another week. You can use Save 300 to take $300 off the regular price, and I would love to see you there if you're drawn to be there. The last thing I would just say is, come if you feel like I'm your person, right? Because that's really who I'm calling in to be a part of this, is people who are like resonate with me and how I do the work that I do. And I want to be there with you if you feel like I'm your person. And go ahead and just email me if you have any questions at all about the program. Thanks so much for being here with me today for What's New with Human Design. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. And if you would like to book a reading with me, you can find out more about me and my work at sovereigntybydesign.com. Many blessings, much love.